name is Danny Sanchez. Welcome to this session again. Visionary Leadership Through Design Thinking. Thanks for being part of Denver Startup Week. As you may have heard before, it's the biggest event of its kind in North America, and it's all 100% free, thanks to our sponsors. My name is Danny. I'm from Mexico. I come from the town called Querétaro, in the central part of Mexico. I do this because no one has ever heard of it. It's part of my labor to no Querétaro, it's great, it's beautiful. So that's where I come from. I came here 2 years ago, actually today, 2 years ago. I graduated as an industrial designer. I went to school in Querétaro for industrial design. So I learned to do physical products, development of new products, sketching, 3D modeling, and then these are some of my designs, physical products. I also did some touring around the world playing in a band, kind of a side band. And I also enjoy doing workshops like this and talks like this. I've done a few already, and I love it, so that's why I'm here. Now, I work in DB Model. DB Model, we're digital transformation architects. We're located in downtown Denver, just a few blocks from here, and we do software solutions. Custom, iOS, Android, web, architecture, app migration, m-commerce, all sorts of things. And you would say, well, how can a guy that did this, what's he doing in a software architecture firm? Like, how does that match? And it's all because of design thinking. So like I said before, industrial design equals solving problems. And that's what we all do. That's what every profession is trying to do. We're all trying to solve a problem or improve something or help someone in a way. This is one of the first things I would like to tell you is that for this session, design equals empathy. Empathy equals solving problems. Okay? Now we're going to time travel. This is the wormhole of time, space, and continuum. We're going to go like way back in time and space because we're also going to Japan. Right now, Japan is not a single country. It's broken into like little kingdoms, and they're all fighting each other. The Miyamoto Musashi. He was many things, but the number one thing he was a swordsman. He was a master swordsman, undefeated. He never lost a duel. So when he was really old, when he was an old wise man, he started writing these books. And I was reading them, and I realized a lot of his teachings about strategy, which is combat strategy, war strategy, are basically the same as design thinking. I was like, what? This guy had it all figured out since then for war. But I realized we could apply that to today's market and startups and business. A maxim is a phrase that rules all. It's a phrase that is the maximum. It's a phrase that will be our motto for today, for this session, is this one. And this is one by Miyamoto Musashi. He wrote this in his book. One of the biggest strengths of an entrepreneur is vision. They can see distant things close. All startups, all companies, all dreams start like that. Someone has a vision. Someone sees something that doesn't exist yet, and then works its way to it to make it happen. So someone who founds a company has a vision. However, the thing that's kind of not great at, we're usually not very good at, is taking a distance view at close things. Why? Because when you're a founder, or you're just busy in your leadership position, you just dive into your work. There's no time schedule for the founders, the entrepreneurs. 24/7. You are the accountant. You are the marketing person. You are the graphic designer. You are the salesperson. You are everybody. It's you. You never stop, never stop, never stop. So it's really hard to take that step out and see what you're doing with fresh new eyes and just step out. Andrew Doherty, he is a UX product designer at Google. He has an article at Medium.com, and this is a quote from him from this article. He says, engineers and developers can't forget what they know about their products. They're like so deep into what they're doing that you can't tell your developer, like, forget what you know. Of course not. That's what they do. They want to learn more, not forget it. He has another quote that says, you serve a faceless and nameless mistress, for she is no one, but she is everyone. And your duty is to fight for her relentlessly. Who can guess what this mistress is? What is it talking about?
User.
The user? It's kind of there.
I was going to say users.
User. It has to do with the user. Nope. It's empathy. Empathy is this mistress that has no face because she's everyone, but she's no one. Okay, so we talked about Japan, we talked about empathy, we talked about users. Let's dive into what actually is design thinking. From today, when you leave, if someone in the street asks you, what is design thinking? You should be able to answer them. And there's 3 layers of the definition you can know. If you stay with the first one, it's fine. The first definition is a methodology. So if someone ever asks you, what is design thinking? You can say the methodology. You're good. Now if you want to dive a little bit deeper, you can go to the second layer, which is a methodology for what? For innovation, for creating new things. And the third one, which I think is the most important, is to innovate, taking into account the real needs of people. So what this means is, design thinking is a methodology. That means it's a series of steps. It's to innovate, it's to create new things. That's why it's relevant to all of us. Because we're all here trying to make new things, I hope. Because if we're not going to make new things, then we're all trying to do something different, something that doesn't exist, satisfy a new need, create a new product, a new service, and that product could be physical, could be digital, could be something else that hasn't been invented yet, could be anything. So we're all trying to innovate. That's why design thinking is relevant to all of us. You can learn design thinking, and you can be the first UX designer of your company, of your organization. A little bit of history, so we can know where design thinking comes from. Like, who's this guy? Where does this come from? So as an industrial designer, you would learn how to make new products. You would learn innovation. You would learn to solve problems, and you would learn to solve problems for people. Design thinking became famous because of IDEO. Who knows IDEO? Design thinking kind of became a thing in the business world in the 90s when IDEO made this project famous, and it was on TV. That's when people saw it, and that's probably the first time people heard about design thinking. What was interesting is they showed the entire process on TV, national TV. They showed the entire process of going through the steps I just showed you before, and they have a multidisciplinary team. They had industrial designers, but they also had anthropologists. They had doctors. They had engineers, and they all worked together to make this. Innovation is where these 3 things kind of meet. It has to be technologically possible, like feasible. It has to be able to be done. It has to make financial sense. It has to be sustainable from the financial point of view. And it also has to be something people can use, want to use, and need. That's where you find innovation. If one of those are missing, we don't really have it. What's my first step to start doing design thinking? And I would say it's this 4 things. I've highlighted 2 of them because I think they're even more important. The first one's empathy. And that's something we all have. It's not something, no one here can tell me like that. We all have it. We'll choose to exercise it more or less, or we think we don't need it, or we think we can need it. But we'll have it. And the last one is attitude. Just like empathy, it's also something we all have. We all choose to exercise it more or less, and it's called the designer's attitude. Thing like this. It's being curious, it's being observing, it's being caring, it's being playful, it's being forgiving, it's not caring about being wrong, not being afraid of making mistakes, not being afraid of being silly. All those things are the designer's attitude. And if you remove designer's attitude, like if you remove the word designer and put kid's attitude, it's the same. This is the example. It's called the Divine Divas. There's 2 organizations, the Marie Stopes International in Zambia and the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. They all gathered, they both fundraised a lot of money, just like all of the startups. They got money, they had a vision, they saw something far, they could see it and they make it happen. They got money and they make it happen. They went to Zambia and they opened clinics because in Zambia, as in many other countries, not only in Africa, but in the world, teenage pregnancy is a huge problem. Teenage pregnancy is a huge, huge problem in Zambia. And these two organizations were like, we want to help. We want to solve the problem. We want to help. They got their money, they had a vision, they went to Zambia and they opened clinics. Now something happened. Nobody showed up. These clinics were empty. No one was going. No one was showing up. No one was getting the help. It was free. It was free help. No one was getting it. So what they did is they went with IDEO. They went to IDEO and they were like, please help us. So they teamed up with these two organizations and they went back to the drawing board. They were like, okay, let's tackle this problem around the DVD. What's going on? So they went through the design thinking process with them, not just on their own. They involved them because they know, they're experts. They know what they know. They know clinics, they know everything. IDEO didn't know any of this. What do you think they did? What they did? How they solved this?
Empathy.
Empathy, yes. Actually, that's the answer, yes, it was empathy. So you want to see what they did? They did a nail salon. They turned the clinics into nail salons, and suddenly girls started showing up. Girls don't want a clinic. Girls don't want to do this. What they want is to have a good time with their friends, to learn, to maybe plan about the future. They don't want sex ed. That's not what they want. Well, this is a great example of a design thinking process, of a real application in a very sensitive topic, and it's been successful. It's been successful. If that worked for them, imagine it can work for whatever, for any project, any service, any product, anywhere in the world. This is one of the other things I want you to walk away with today. We are all designers. We all are. Just like we're all leaders, like I said before, we're all leaders. Whatever our job is, we're all leaders. Well, we're also all designers, because we're all designing things. Remember, like we're all solving a problem, so we're all designing a solution for something. If you're in marketing, you're designing a campaign. If you're in a startup or you're an entrepreneur, you're designing your business model. If you're, we're all designing things. So we're all designers, and that's something we have to take in to be able to say, I can do design thinking because I'm a designer too. Here's a little description of what we do in each step. Very quickly, here we understand what matters to the person, like the user. In the example of the girls from Zambia, what matters to them? Sex ed is probably not in the list. Although it's important, they're not going to tell you that's what they want. What's what they need? That's what they needed, not what they wanted. Then brainstorming, come up with ideas, like they probably came up with a nail salon, they probably came up with something else. That's where they came up with thousands of ideas. Then they prototype the ones that are strongest, the ones that everybody votes on, and then finally they choose which one you test it with a real user and see if it works. If it doesn't, it's fine. It's okay. Just go back. And this process is not linear. It's very flexible. You can skip, you can go back as many times as you need. It's very flexible. Very, very flexible. Okay, this is a project we did 3D model, and we use this design thinking to tackle and solve this problem. Design thinking, we had a problem, we wanted to solve it. Let's use design thinking. Surveys. Who of you has gotten a survey in the mail, like from the government? Did you answer it? Did you mail it back? No. Why? Because they look like this. And they're like, now we have a web version. And it looks the same, just on your screen. It's the same, just on the screen. It's not good. Surveys were effective before the internet, when mail, physical mail was a thing. Now, things are changing. The user has changed. The user needs and the user wants have changed, and the solution hasn't. So we worked with the city of Boulder, Department of Transportation, because they do a survey. They've been doing a survey since the 90s in a paper version. And lately, they're not having the same responses they had in the 90s, using the same method. So they came to DB Mobile. They please help us do, we want to do an app. We want to do a mobile app for the survey. We think that's what the users are going to need, they're going to like. tip. So that's what we did. First, we understand what's the user, what matters to this person, what matters to the user today. Nobody has the time to sit, go through 4 or 5 pages of like this big letters, no spacing, filling check boxes. If you make a mistake, you have to erase it. And skip to question 74. And, oh, you know? Then go back to question 47. Nobody likes that. So this is their user. They don't have time. Imagine this person going on the bus like that, filling the paper. You know? Imagine someone who bikes to work, someone who drives it. They can't do it. So we started creating ideas. We came up with tons of ideas. Like, what can we do? What can we do? How can we solve this? And it's all very rough. It's by hand. Remember, here's where we embrace the designer's attitude, the kid's attitude. We don't care about being wrong. We don't care about what people can say. We don't care about what if a drone follows them wherever they go, and that's how we know the route. Well, maybe. What we came up with was an iOS and Android app that has GPS tracking. We wrote it into quick interactions. What can we do that the user's like okay with it, and they don't feel like this was a waste of time, this is annoying, this is all that stuff. So we prototyped, we tested the leading model team. We're just driving around places, we don't know whether from like, is it tracking metrics, how's it working? Through iterations of prototyping, and we finally came up with a test. We put it in the store. We had a group of people in Boulder who were randomly selected to do it. We downloaded it from the store, they were using it, and we learned a lot. It's not done. It was not perfect at all. It was a great, great start. It was very, very encouraging. And it's going to open the door for next generations of this app to just get better and better and better. The traditional survey requires your full attention for an hour. What we did is we want this app, like what we really care is about the data. Your routes, if you have a car, if you have a bike, if you use a bus, which route, if you have a bus pass, etc. We really don't need to ask you, we don't really need to bother the user with those questions. With traditional surveys, there's no other way to know than asking you. But with your smartphone, it goes with you, and it tracks the routes with you. You don't even have to answer a lot of you do have to answer a few things, because it's impossible. It's still the technology part is not there yet to completely not talk to you, but it's getting there. And what we did is exactly that. It was running in the background, tracking your routes, and you answer very few questions about it, and that's way more information, more valuable for the city of Boulder than what they could get on the paper. Remember the maxim, take a distance view and things are close. These people have been doing this survey since 1992. It was hard for them to take a distance view at the survey. Because they, oh, we need a survey. Oh, great, I know how to do it. You make this go, this long document, and then you ask them questions. Have you ever thought of doing it in a different way? And it's hard for them to think of a different way, because that's what they've been doing for 20 years, 30 years.
So, do you guys, in the design process, is this a cyclical deal where at the end of testing you maybe go back to ideate or define or maybe even empathy, or is it just linear?
Yes, it's not linear at all. It's not linear. Because here you may realize you're wrong. What you came up with was not right. You have to go back. Or maybe all the way to the end you realize you were wrong. Or not 100% accurate. You were maybe 90. You were close but not quite. So you go back. You always iterate. And even imagine the scenario where you got it absolutely nailed perfectly. Is it going to be still valid in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Because the user changes. The paper survey was perfect 30 years ago. It's not today because the user changed. So you have to keep adjusting. Whatever we came up with this year, we're going to have to do this again every year. Because people keep changing, the technology keeps changing. What I would like you also to take from today is realizing that design is not a task. Design is not a department in your company that we never touch and we don't involve in. It matters to everybody. Design is about everyone. We're all designers. It is a mindset, it's a lifestyle, it's the way, and if we try to be like Miyamoto, it's the way. It's the way to go. This is my contact information if you wish to learn more. I also have business cards over here. You can come over and talk to me if you want. This is my Twitter, this is my email.